Now at 9, the four-state community comes together to mourn the loss of a 2-year-old girl and her mother.
President Biden explains his gaffe over the weekend after being scrutinized for saying that President Putin can't remain in power. I'm Mather Rivera in Washington with more on what the president says he actually meant with that off-the-cuff remark in Poland coming up.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
For joining us tonight, I'm Jordan Albee. A Joplin man is going to prison after a drunk driving crash led to an injury. Witness says 46-year-old Joshua Goodhue was driving more than 80 miles an hour on Rangeline when his car crashed in December of 2020. A passenger was seriously hurt. Goodhue pleads guilty to driving while intoxicated, and the judge sentenced him to 5 years in prison. Four-state community came together tonight to mourn the loss of a 2-year-old girl and her mother. 27-year-old Taylor Shute and her daughter Ceci Crawford were killed during a standoff in Baxter Springs Saturday evening, a standoff between authorities and the child's father. KOAM's Shannon Becker has more.
Yeah, thanks. The family invited the community to gather with them at the top of Mercy Park tonight for a community vigil to remember the mother and daughter. More than 100 people gathered to pray, listen to songs, cry, and lean on each other in this difficult time. Family says it meant a lot.
We weren't sure who all would show up, and that's fine as long as we had people here just covering us in prayer and strength, and the turnout just completely blew our minds. And it just means a lot that even if they didn't know Cleslin and Taylor, they still came out to show their support and love and prayers.
Services for the two who were killed on Saturday night in Baxter Springs have yet to be announced. The investigation has been handed over to the KBI. The family have created a GoFundMe to help with funeral expenses, and we have a link to that on our website at KOAM News Now. At the top of Mercy Park in Joplin, I'm Shannon Becker for KOAM News Now.
Shannon, thank you. Authorities say the suspect in the standoff, 37-year-old Eli Crawford, also died. Meteorologist Nick Kelly joining us now. Nice sunny day today, Nick.
Yeah, even though the kiddos had to come back from spring break, Jordan, at least we gave them a nice day to go back to school and stay inside. That doesn't seem right. But 42 this morning, topping out at 68. At least temperatures were good across the entire area today. Mostly sunny skies, but clouds are beginning to pick up. Not just ahead of a warm front that will send us quite a bit warmer tomorrow, but ahead of our next cold front that's going to really shake things up by this time tomorrow night at the earliest. In the short term, though, the clouds may increase throughout the morning and into tomorrow, but we're dry throughout the day and much warmer, Jordan, with highs in the mid-70s. But this incoming system has some severe weather chances to go along with it. We'll break that down here in a few.
All right, Nick Kelly, thank you so much. Webb City R7 School District is asking voters to approve an $11 million school bond. That bond would fund improvements at the high school, including renovations of science classrooms, construction of a virtual learning lab, and a new family and consumer sciences classroom, and renovations of the Cardinal Theater. It would also fund the construction of an ADA-compliant outdoor space for PE classes at the middle school.
Okay, we have a larger group of kids coming through the pipeline up through our elementaries and high school, so we can see those populations coming through. We've already had to add 2 more classes for next year, social studies and science, so we can see these things coming up.
If approved, the district's current tax levy would stay the same. This bond is going to be decided next week on April 5th. Cold weather rule is coming to an end this week in Kansas and Missouri. Starting Friday, April 1st, any resident who is behind on electric and natural gas utility bills could be subject to disconnection of service. The cold weather rule goes into effect in several states from November 1st through March 31st. It's designed to prevent utility shutoffs during the coldest parts of the year. Now, Oklahoma's policy doesn't have a set time frame. In the Sooner State, utility companies cannot disconnect customers if temperatures are 32 degrees or below during the day, or 20 or below at night, or if the predicted heat index is 101 degrees or greater. Americans everywhere feeling that pinch at the pump as fuel prices continue to rise. The trucking industry in particular, though, is feeling the effects. KOM's Jalen Banks has more on how Joplin's very own CFI is navigating these challenges.
Fuel prices continue to rise across the country. Every consumer and industry is feeling the effects of it. CFI is a Joplin-based trucking company with a fleet of nearly 4,000 trucks, and with diesel prices reaching a national average of over $5 a gallon, the costs are adding up.
Yeah, it definitely is impacting all consumers at this point in time. Being a large trucking company with nearly 3,700 trucks in our fleet today, we do feel the impacts. The good and the bad of it is we do have fuel surcharge programs in play to help offset those expenses.
Fuel surcharges are fees that companies will charge to cover the fluctuating cost of fuel. They are using other tactics to try to navigate through the high fuel prices, such as adjusting their routes, keeping idle time on trucks down, and most recently making a purchase that'll help not only their pockets, but the environment as well.
We are purchasing 750 new tractors this year, and with that, those tractors are supposed to get about 1 to 2/10 of a mile per gallon better than our existing equipment. And when you think about that in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have that over 3,700 tractors, that tends to add up dramatically.
Greg says that another thing that they are doing during this time is reinforcing drivers, telling them that they are vital to the success of the company and, by and large, the economy. At CFI in Joplin, Jalen Banks, KOAM News.
The American Trucking Association says more than 70% of freight is transported via trucks. Well, the president's proposed his budget for the next fiscal year, and it gives us an idea of where the president is hoping to make a priority for the country, also his party. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard explains now from D.C.
President Biden has rolled out his 2023 budget proposal. In the $5.8 trillion fiscal spending blueprint, there's nearly $800 billion for defense spending and more than $900 billion for domestic programs, though the White House is staying tight-lipped on exact items and their price tags before congressional negotiations.
I look forward to working with the members of Congress, Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, to deliver this budget and keep delivering for the American people.
There's a so-called billionaire's tax, a 20% minimum tax on households worth more than $100 million. The White House says that will reduce the deficit by about $360 billion over the next 10 years. It would raise the corporate tax rate to 28% and raise the rate on the nation's wealthiest income earners.
And the wealthy and corporations will finally begin to pay their fair share.
The proposal is based on the assumption the economy will not stay at record high inflation rates like it is now.
This is really ideology over common sense.
Republicans say the plan, which is only a presidential wish list and must be turned into legislation by Congress, is dead on arrival.
We've been living for a year with tax and spending Democrat policies, and that's why we now have 40% of a 40-year high in inflation in this country.
Congress has until the end of September to come up with and pass a budget, just a month before voters head to the polls. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
The Biden administration has spent the last few days walking back controversial comments President Biden made over the weekend, saying Vladimir Putin, quote, cannot remain in power. Now, the president is addressing the ad-libbed remarks, making no apologies and no policy changes. Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera is in Washington with this latest.
I'm not walking anything back.
President Biden is making it clear he's not seeking regime change in Russia.
I was expressing the moral outrage I felt toward this man. I wasn't articulating a policy change.
The cleanup comes as peace talks between Russia and Ukraine press on in Turkey, with a plane purportedly carrying a Russian delegation landing in Istanbul Monday. This time there's optimism that there might be a breakthrough.
I can say that the telephone traffic we are carrying out with Mr. Putin and Mr. Zelensky is advancing on a positive direction.
President Zelensky has floated the possibility of adopting a neutral stance if it is guaranteed by third parties and put to a referendum. Meanwhile, U.S. officials say Russia is shifting its focus to try and cut off Ukraine in the east, its hope of a quick invasion gone. Still, the Kremlin is remaining tight-lipped.
The fact that the face-to-face talks continue is important, but so far our policy is not to impart the details of the talks.
As Russia continues its attacks, some are skeptical that the two sides can reach common ground. Also raising concern, the Wall Street Journal reports a Russian billionaire and Ukrainian peace negotiators suffered symptoms of a suspected poisoning earlier this month. Allies emphasizing that any settlement must hold President Putin accountable.
We need to ensure that Putin can never act in this aggressive way again.
An advisor to Zelensky denies reports that Ukrainian negotiators were poisoned, adding that all members of the team are working normally. In Washington, Malda Rivera, Fox News.
KOM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time now to honor another four-state hero. Ernest Melvin served in the U.S. Air Force. We are proud to thank Master Sergeant Ernest Melvin, a native of Iola, Kansas. He's tonight's four-state hero. Nick Kelly's next with a complete look at the forecast a bit later. It's a battle of the Bulldogs with Galena hosting Independence in their baseball season opener. Highlights in sports.
Even though the kiddos had to come back from spring break today, temperatures gave them a good day to go back to school with at the very least. Temperatures rebounded quite nicely throughout the course of the day. After we saw upper 50s and lower 60s yesterday, we soared into the upper 60s after we started a bit cold in the upper 30s to lower 40s this morning. Thankfully, much of the day tomorrow ahead of our next storm system is going to be dry and quite warm with at least mid to upper 70s across the entire area. But we have to declare Tuesday night and Wednesday morning an alert day because our next storm system wants to bring in strong to severe storms during that stretch of time. And then once we get beyond that, a few other ways to watch, certainly by the weekend, and then the next big system in Doug's pattern coming by this time next week. In the short term, though, still looking good outside. Mostly clear from 7th and Range Line, 59 in Joplin, and the east breeze at 11, trying to gust near 22 miles per hour. We have seen temperatures finally very slow to drop off compared to the other night. Mid-50s in our northeastern areas, near 60 around the Joplin area, then more lower to almost mid-60s south and west of town. And these numbers still will not drop off much more or a whole lot more because they're coming out of the southeast at 5 to 15. They're going to pick up a little bit tonight, but they'll certainly crank into gear tomorrow to push us back well into the 70s. So for now, we're enjoying a nice evening. Might not be quiet because of that wind out there, but quiet from the skies above. Here's our warm front. That comes on through tomorrow morning, pushes us back into the 70s. Now, not only does that front out west want to quickly come our way by tomorrow evening, but so does the upper level low, finally working on shore to California. Both of those two features will bring our next round of rain and storms tomorrow night and the Wednesday morning. And some of these could pack a punch with a low severe threat covering much of the area until you get to about Missouri 39. Let's keep an eye on these storms between 9 o'clock tomorrow night and 5 a.m. Wednesday morning. We're elevating wind, heavy rain, and large hail. The tornado threat's pretty low, but it is there based on how the future track wants things to evolve. So let's see how the storms could play out once they get going. Fortunately, it won't be for tonight with just a lot of cloud cover picking up, but we'll go back and forth between partly sunny to mostly cloudy skies during the day tomorrow. And since we'll have warm air aloft, there won't get any thunderstorms going throughout much of the day. So we're dry tomorrow, during the day at least. 53 in the morning, 68 by noon. I think at the very least, highs near 76. Then, here's 9 o'clock. Here's the system coming to life with scattered storms along the 35 corridor out in Kansas and Oklahoma. Then they'll start to head our way and consolidate more into a line. So this is why we're going to see mainly more of a wind threat, but anywhere along this line, can't rule out maybe a brief spin-up tornado. But once we get to the morning drive, we'll be done with the severe threat, but the rain chances want to stick around. So not only could we see some strong and severe storms during this stretch of time, but with this system coming in, anywhere from half an inch to almost 2 inches of rain. But I would imagine for some of you, at the very least, we'll take the rain chances that will certainly be eager to ramp on up. 76 tomorrow afternoon before the storms get going. 68 early, Jordan, then dropping through the 40s behind that cold front. And 51 Thursday, 64 Friday. We have some minor rain chances going into the weekend, but mainly the weekend dry overall.
Yeah, week looks pretty good overall. Nick Kelly was killing a little bit. Thank you so much. Coming up, some new COVID vaccine options.
More COVID vaccine boosters could be on the way as public health officials strive to prevent another wave. I'm Jonathan Seri in Atlanta. I'll have details coming up.
People looking for an extra layer of protection against COVID-19 could soon have another option. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Seri has more from Atlanta.
It could soon be time to roll up your sleeves again. The feds are reportedly giving the green light to a fourth dose of Pfizer or Moderna's vaccine for Americans 50 years and older. The announcement from the FDA and CDC expected as soon as Tuesday, but they're expected to recommend softer language, saying folks can get a shot, not that they should. The FDA's independent advisory panel meets April 6th to discuss how boosters will be used moving forward. But most public health officials acknowledge there is not enough data to know how many doses will be needed.
And we don't know after you get, for example, a fourth shot, will the durability be such that you don't have to get a shot like we do with the flu every year, or it might actually be required.
But health officials are also working hard to get folks their first booster shots. Only about a third of the population has been boosted, and rates are falling significantly as the case count drops. We're now averaging a little less than 30,000 infections per day nationwide, and more restrictions are being lifted. But vaccine mandates are still in place for public employees in many cities and states, including New York, where Mayor Eric Adams says workers fired for refusing the vaccine will not be rehired.
You know, he said that he wants to listen to the science, and then he told us we can speak to his lawyers. You know, I'd like to speak to his doctors.
Federal health officials warn the nation may have to pivot back to COVID restrictions if there's another surge. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
I still had a look at how certain types of vehicles are behind an increase in pedestrian deaths. Pedestrian deaths have been on the rise in recent years. Researchers looking for a reason why discovered certain vehicles are more likely to be involved in these types of accidents. Laura Podesta reports.
A memorial on this Los Angeles street corner marks the place where a child and his babysitter died tragically earlier this month. Police say Alihia Morales was walking 2-year-old Julian across the street when an SUV hit them while making a left turn. He had so much life to live. We had so many plans for him, Julian's father said. The accident happened as a new report shows that SUVs and pickup trucks are more likely than cars to hit pedestrians while making turns.
When a pedestrian was killed at an intersection, an SUV was twice as likely to be turning left. A van was 3 times as likely to be turning left, and pickups were nearly 4 times as likely to be turning left.
Jessica Cicchino with the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety says it's not clear why, but she believes visibility may play a role.
One of the contenders is the A-pillar, that area right in the front of your vehicle between the windshield and your front windows that can be a blind spot in the front of your vehicle.
Last year, almost 80% of new vehicles sold were trucks or SUVs. That's up from just over 50% in 2010. At the same time, pedestrian deaths increased, up 59% between 2009 and 2020.
If you have a larger vehicle, you would want to keep in mind that there might be times when you can't see pedestrians as well, particularly when you're turning. So make sure you take that extra look.
Researchers say more studies are needed to find out exactly what's causing the issue and if design changes can fix it.
Next, going to meet the woman who managed to score a Guinness World Record. Look at that. Most chicken nuggets eaten within a minute.
Hi.
I like chicken. I had chicken for dinner tonight, in fact, but this is a different level, you know. Woman in Britain breaking the world record for most chicken McNuggets eaten in a minute. Leah Shakiver is a model and competitive eater who claims to have 27 records for eating, including the fastest time to eat 3 pickled eggs and most marshmallows eaten in a minute without using her hands. She also holds the record of most chicken McNuggets eaten in 3 minutes since 2020. However, this time she wanted to break yet another world record with the nuggets, eating 19 McNuggets in a minute, or 352 grams, surpassing the previous record of 315 grams held by another competitive eater and model from New Zealand. 2 things. This woman is, she was just chowing down the whole time I was eating. I'm impressed. And I guess in some countries, being a model and competitive eater go hand in hand. So it's interesting. Leave it at that. 30 more minutes news, weather, and sports coming away. You're going to see a special birthday celebration happening in Pittsburgh with a visit to the Community Child Care Learning Center. Plus, a look back on the life of a Missouri teenager who was killed on a Florida amusement park ride. Pittsburgh Community Child Care Learning Center is celebrating 50 years of educating kids. The center offers child care for kiddos between 1-year-old and kindergarten. Today they hosted an event for community members and former students and families to look back on all of the history.
I'm hoping to leave the daycare in a good place when I retire in the future, and I don't know if we'll expand or not, but I think the 44 is a nice size. We know all the parents, and it's just a nice size.
Officials say the center was the first child care center in Pittsburgh. It's located at 502 East 20th Street in Pittsburgh. The Safehouse Crisis Center in Pittsburgh is hosting their 11th annual Bags to Riches online fundraiser. There's several items up for auction, including purses, jewelry, and signed Chiefs memorabilia. There's also pictures of local dogs on their website. You can vote for your favorite. All proceeds from the fundraiser will support the women in the shelter. Family in Missouri is mourning after a teenager from St. Louis County died after falling from a drop tower amusement ride that recently opened at the Icon Park Entertainment Complex in Orlando, Florida last week. The family of 14-year-old Tyree Sampson, heartbroken, remembering a young man they say had a very bright future. Robert Townsend reports.
It's still the worst day of my life. It ain't gonna stop.
Tears fill his eyes. He's seemingly at a loss for words.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yarnell Sampson says he's living a nightmare that shattered his world.
I want to know what happened to my son.
His 14-year-old son, Tyree Sampson, died after falling from a ride at an amusement park in Orlando Thursday night.
He changed my life. Gave me something to live for. That was the best thing God could have gave me.
He says at just 8 years old, his son, everyone called Big Tick, fell in love with football. Tyree later excelled on the field and in the classroom.
He was doing his training videos. He started working out.
The 6'5", 325-pound 8th grader was a straight-A student and looking forward to playing football for East St. Louis High School in the fall. Tyree also played for Bad Boys, a nationally ranked youth football program based out of St. Louis.
He was a very good, charismatic young man. His friends will tell you, family will tell you, anybody involved there, young man he touched.
I call him a gentle giant.
Their gentle giant who dreamed of perhaps becoming a professional football player.
And I think he was the next big thing coming out of St. Louis.
Gone too soon.
Well, he was big in body, but in his heart, he was just still a kid.
And I just appreciate I had him as my son. I wish I was here to tell him I love him.
Authorities are investigating the incident, and right now they say it appears to have been just a tragic accident. Police say it isn't yet clear yet exactly how Sampson fell from his seat. Well, a new study says a big risk factor for heart attacks is noise pollution. The research presented at the American College of Cardiology shows noise pollution plays a large role in heart attack rates. According to the study, 1 in 20 heart attacks in New Jersey are related to noise from trains, air traffic, and highways. Analysts look at the rates of more than 16,000 people, estimating the noise pollution levels in their neighborhoods. And they found a 72% higher rate in communities with greater traffic noises. Well, microplastics are defined as small pieces of plastic waste measuring in at less than 5 millimeters in length. For decades, these tiny bits of debris have been a major concern for the world's oceans, with millions of tons polluting the seas every year, ending up on our coastlines and in the seafood we eat. But now, new research has found this plastic waste has made its way into people's blood. Fox News correspondent Marianne Rafferty explains.
Plastic is in pretty much everything, and now it could even be inside your bloodstream. That's according to researchers in Amsterdam, whose new study found microplastic particles in samples of human blood for the first time.
You should be concerned.
Previous work by the Worldwide Fund for Nature estimates people eat as much as a credit card's worth of plastic a week, ingesting the waste that's made its way into the food and drinking water we consume. But this new study, consisting of 22 participants, found at least 5 types of microplastics in 17 of their blood samples.
All the microplastics and nanoplastics we are exposed to, we inhale and we ingest.
The study suggests these microplastics are then absorbed into our blood. And while the levels found were very small, it's prompting questions about what effects plastics could have on our bodies.
Do they travel to certain organs? Do they accumulate there? Are they eliminated via the bile or the kidney?
Even though companies have begun transitioning away from using many harsh chemicals in their plastics, scientists say the second most common plastic found in the samples was polystyrene, which is used in many styrofoam products. To avoid coming into contact with microplastics, researchers recommend avoiding microwaving food in plastic containers, keeping your house well ventilated, and covering your food and drinks to prevent microplastics in the air from landing on them. Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
A bit later, last night's Academy.
It's the slap that stole the spotlight. I'm Christina Coleman in Los Angeles. Coming up, how the shocking slap of a legendary comedian overshadowed some Oscar firsts.
Shopping.
We managed to warm up nicely throughout the course of the day. Upper 30s to lower 40s this morning, and we push into the upper 60s and lower 70s for this afternoon. In fact, looking ahead, we're going to be warmer. Mid to upper 70s tomorrow and dry throughout much of our Tuesday, but we're going to really warm up because our next storm system will be rolling in. So we'll have to put out an alert day as well because we'll have to watch for strong to severe thunderstorms Tuesday night going into Wednesday morning, and then some other weak waves I want to watch by the start of the coming weekend. But our main focus will be on the storm chances tomorrow night and Wednesday. But first, looking good at 938 from the 7th range line, 59 in Joplin with an east breeze at 11. Gusting to 22, maybe a little bit higher in some spots, but the southeast wind is still locked in for the course of the night. So lower 50s north and east of Joplin. We're near 60 around the metro area. Then we're seeing some warmer numbers, slightly warmer numbers south and west of town. But these numbers are not dropping off very much because the southeast wind in place is going to pick up some more throughout the night and really cranking the gear out of the south tomorrow to soar us into the 70s for tomorrow. Nothing happening right now. Cloud cover, though, eager to ramp back in from the west because of our approaching warm front. That doesn't do anything for us during the day tomorrow except warm us up. But we got this cold front out west and an upper low out west as well. Both of those are going to really come into play starting tomorrow night into Wednesday morning in the form of a severe threat, a low severe threat, but it's pretty much covering much of the area until you get to about Missouri 39. In the southwestern corner of the Show Me State. 9 o'clock tomorrow night to 5 a.m. Wednesday morning. That's the timing that we'll watch for any strong and severe storms, mainly for high wind, heavy rain, maybe some hailstones as well, at least the size of quarters. The tornado threat's low, but it is there based on how things might want to pan out. So let's break that down for you here. But nothing to worry about for tonight, though. Despite the cloud cover on the increase and bouncing back and forth between partly sunny and mostly cloudy skies tomorrow, we're going to see that south wind really warm us up throughout the course of the day. 53 in the morning, 68 by noon, and the high of 76. Certainly doable with the south wind during the afternoon at 15 to 25, maybe some gusts near 35. But then here's 9 o'clock tomorrow evening. Scattered storms developing ahead of the front out west. Some of those could certainly be severe as they get going, but the overall likelihood of our storms for tomorrow in terms of how they'll set up, mainly consolidating into a line. But this is where we're going to have our best shot for storms and a severe threat with, again, mainly wind. Can't rule out a random spin-up tornado, unfortunately, during the overnight hours. But once we get the morning drive Wednesday underway, we'll have to deal with random rain showers throughout the course of the day, but also colder temperatures as the front passes on through. So with the system alone, half an inch to almost 2 inches of rain, something we need to watch, but I'm sure some of you will appreciate the good drink of water on the way. 76 tomorrow, the alert day kicks in for tomorrow night and Wednesday morning, Jordan, but 68 early Wednesday, then dropping through the 40s throughout the day as that front blasts us through.
All right, so did you watch the Academy Awards last night?
I had no idea what was going on, but then I saw Twitter a buzz.
I'm still laughing at myself, as many of you heard, because during the last tease, I was supposed to say a bit later, last night's Academy Awards. What I wanted to say, deep down I guess, was last night's Comedy Awards. Because
I mean, that happened too.
You thought it was a joke at first, you know, when that slap happened. You thought it was part of the gig, but we'll have that story a little bit later. But first, coming up in sports, Kansas Jayhawks heading to the Final Four for the first time since 2018. Plus, the Frontenac Raiders open the baseball season with an interstate matchup against Nevada. Jacob Leonard has that and more next.
Well, tonight is opening night for Frontenac High School baseball. The Raiders are on the road for an interstate matchup to start this schedule, facing the Nevada Tigers. Frontenac coming off a regional championship and a third-place finish at state last season. Scoreless until the top of the fifth. Logan Myers rips it into right center. That scores Lane Sullivan. Myers drives in 2 tonight. They really did their damage in the sixth. Colin McCartney up. Finds the gap in left center. All the way to the fence. Scores Mario Mangini and Jeremy Rayo. It's now 3-0 Raiders. A few minutes later, Lane Sullivan turns on this one, puts it in the left field corner. RBI double, scores Cal Turlip, and makes it 4-0. Mario Mangini also had a 2-run double in the 6th. Raiders score 7 in the inning. They win their season opener over Nevada 8-1.
For the first time out, there was a lot of good things we'll take from it. I feel like we beat a good ball club tonight, and our bats came alive a little bit. We played good defense behind our pitchers. I thought our pitchers threw well. They competed. They were in the zone. There's some things we got to clean up, and you always find those things after game one. And one of the things is backwards Ks. I mean, we got to give ourselves a chance. We've got some good hitters, and we got to give ourselves a chance. We've got 2 strikes on us.
Staying in southeast Kansas, it's opening day for Galena at home against Independence. Now, Indy strikes first. Ryan Liker hammers it to center. Great effort out there, but it gets by. Davis Merrick scores. Independence gets 2 in the top of the first. The bottom half, leadoff man Brett Sarwinski goes opposite field with 2 strikes. Double for Sarwinski. He would score a few minutes later on a passed ball. It's 2-2 after 1. Then both pitchers go to work. Kenyon Martin, nice move here, throws to Sarwinski to pick the runner off at second. Then in the bottom half, Ryan Liker on the mound for Independence, strikes out the side. He goes 3 1/3 with 10 strikeouts. Indy scores 5 in the 5th, 5 in the 7th, rolling by Galena 13-5. The Kansas Jayhawks are back in the Final Four in the NCAA tournament. The Jayhawks beat Miami last night in the Elite Eight to return to the national semifinals for the first time since 2018. Kansas got off to a bit of a slow start last night, trailing 35-29 at halftime. But the second half, they were on fire, man. KU outscored Miami 47-15 in the final 20 minutes, winning 76-50. So they had 3 guys in double figures, led by Ochai Agbaji, who scored 18, going 8 for 12 from the floor.
I'm just proud of my team. I'm just proud of obviously Coach Self, and it's great for the program and the university, but we're not done yet, and I'm not satisfied yet with this. And I know my teammates aren't either.
First half, there weren't as many opportunities to run because we took the ball out of bounds too often, off makes. In the second half, I don't know what it was, but we controlled the defensive glass, and their shooting percentage went down, so there were more opportunities to run off misses, and we did get out and run very well the second half.
Albert Pujols is coming back to St. Louis. On Sunday night, the 42-year-old Pujols agreed to a 1-year, $2.5 million deal with the Cardinals. Pujols previously played for the Cardinals from 2001 to 2011. In those 11 seasons, he hit 445 of his 679 career home runs, helped the team win 2 World Series titles. He spent most of the last 10 years with the Angels before being released and signed by the Dodgers in the middle of last season. Pujols is a 10-time All-Star and a 3-time league MVP. Pujols actually already with the team for their spring training game today against Houston. First inning, Michael Brantley hammers a solo shot off Adam Wainwright. It's 1-0 Astros. Now after that, Wainwright would settle in. Strikeout there. Wainwright goes 5 innings, gives up 2 earned with 3 strikeouts. But in the 4th, Yordan Alvarez, solo homer of his own. Not a lot of offense today, but the Astros go on to win it 2-1. The Kansas City Royals also on the field today with a spring training matchup against Cleveland. Look at this, plenty of offense in this one. Royals win big 19-9. Andrew Benintendi goes 2 for 5 on the day with 2 home runs and 5 RBIs. Kansas City's now 6-3 in spring training. Well, that's it for sports. We're back with more news after this.
A wild scene last night at the Oscars. Actor Will Smith storming on stage to take a swing at Chris Rock over a joke about his wife, shocking the Tinseltown audience and sparking a reaction around the world. Fox News correspondent Christina Coleman has more now from Los Angeles.
Oh, wow! It's the smack scene around the world. Actor Will Smith walking on stage during Sunday night's Academy Awards show and slapping comedian Chris Rock after Rock made a joke about Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith.
Will Smith just smacked the out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
Smith apparently set up by Rock's joke about Pinkett Smith's shaved head, something she has been open about because of her alopecia diagnosis, an autoimmune disease that causes hair loss.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
Smith later apologized to the Academy for the incident while accepting his first Oscar for Best Actor in King Richard.
Hope the Academy invites me back. Thank you.
The slap looked fake, but the aftermath looked real.
LAPD is aware of the incident, but Rock is not pressing charges against Smith.
Hollywood sees words as violence and violence as a way to sell tickets. It's like so upside down because the guy who gets hit is kind of the victim.
Will Smith's slapping fiasco overshadowing some major Oscar moments, like when Ariana DeBose became the first openly queer woman of color to win an acting Oscar, and Jane Campion becoming the third woman in history to win Best Director for The Power of the Dog. The Academy released a code of conduct in 2017 condemning abuse of any kind, but the Academy does not have a mechanism in place to rescind an Oscar, as some are calling for in this case, after Smith's shocking disruption of the show. In Los Angeles, Christina Coleman, Fox News.
All right, coming up, a look at the entertainment coming your way this week right here on Fox 14. Name That Tune returns with Season 2, and it's just part of the all-new episodes this week on Fox TV. We have a preview of what's coming up on the TV lineup with Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
All new rounds of competition and highly anticipated character returns. Here's what's hot on Fox.
Gotta find Maddie.
Monday on 911, Maddie and Chimney are back with a big episode set in Boston.
Any questions anyone has had, they will all be answered. It is not pretty. It's not going to be wrapped up in a nice little bow. I would call Maddie and Chimney's relationship status complicated, for good reason. But you will get all the answers.
You remember Deputy Griffin?
That's followed by 911 Lone Star, where Owen fears someone dangerous from his past is back.
Good thing we looked into your chest pain.
Tuesday on The Resident, Conrad and the Raptor help out an old friend. And there's an emotional reunion for Billy and Trevor.
I'm having a great time.
Then Jane Krakowski and Randy Jackson premiere Name That Tune Season 2, with celebrities playing for their favorite charities.
Look at our little beer bottle!
Wednesday on The Masked Singer, a new group of contestants make their debut.
Drama action!
That's followed by a movie-themed challenge on Domino Masters.
Good tidings, young traveler!
Thursday, the MasterChef Junior Chefs have their first in-the-field challenge with medieval-themed dishes. Then Call Me Kat kicks off the comedy at the bowling alley.
Let's get with it.
And Welcome to Flatch has Kelly and Shrub coming up with clever ideas to get a coveted pair of sneakers. Matchups in the ring continue on WWE Friday Night SmackDown.
Here we go!
And enjoy a Sunday night catching up on lots of laughs, courtesy of animation domination led by The Simpsons. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
And that's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Going to leave you with video of a pool party, a dog pool party, okay? It happened over in Venezuela. Chilling out, having a good time. Be safe, too. This is all again tomorrow. See you then.